Hi guys, welcome. Hope everyone is doing good and hope everyone is in their celebratory mode of Deepavali festival. Again, wishing all of my users a very happy Deepavali. Have a safe and a happy Deepavali. However, I do appreciate all those students who are tuning in today. The reason is most of the students are engulfed in celebrations of festivals, which is fair. But even amongst that celebration, I appreciate those students who are finding time to tune into the news in 30 minutes to just make sure that their consistency is not broken. So, my deep appreciation to all you students. So, please give yourself a round of applause and a round of applause and appreciation from my side for your dedication and commitment. I appreciate it. I applaud it, and I can assure you that you students and your sacrifices will be met with merit and success in the future. That is for sure. Alright, now to get on with the important issues on the 11th of November 2023, let us see the important issues in news in 30 minutes. The first issue is to do with population. Okay, as you can see here, this article mainly talks about population. Ram Madhav writes, Nitish Kumar's approach to population control is patriarchal. You should learn from Ram Manohar Lohia, okay, who is also a socialist, okay, and he has given few statements which you can use both in your essay as well as your GS paper. We'll get there when in a few minutes we'll get there, but taking out all the political aspect from this article and focusing purely on the issue. You should always focus on issue, forget the politics of that particular news. Now, as you know, population as a topic is important from GS1, because in GS1 there is a section called society. Within that they have given population and its associated issues. It is also important in GS3 as well as essay. Okay, so these are the three sections where population as a topic is very important. So you should have some amount of data that is there in your notes, so that when the question comes, you should be able to write a good answer. Okay, now in this article, okay, one thing or one fact that you should know is, according to United Nations, okay, currently India is the largest populous country in the world, that we know, correct? So according to United Nations, the country is going to reach its peak with respect to population in the mid 2060s, okay, and it is going to reach 1.6 billion, and after that, after reaching its peak, it is going to again climb down to 1.5 billion by the end of this century, that is 2100. Okay, so this is one stat that you should have an idea. The country is going to peak till mid 2060s, and once it reaches 1.6 billion, then it is going to decline to 1.5 billion, and by the 2100 we would have seen a downward trend. So this is one fact that you should know. And the next important thing that you should know is, in this article the author tells that population control can be done through scientific means. Okay, population control can be done through scientific means, and that scientific means is to track the total fertility rate of India. Okay, now the article very beautifully tells that total fertility rate of India must be tracked across, all religion, all regions and cross sections. Okay, it gives a very important point. The total fertility rate must be tracked across all regions and all cross sections. Okay, now to just give you a glimpse of what is this TFR or total fertility rate. Total fertility rate is the average number of children a woman bears in her lifetime. Okay, so this is what is the total fertility rate. All right, now as the author tells, TFR plays a very important role in controlling or in stabilizing our population. Okay, and for that, let us now analyze across different religion what is the total fertility rate? Okay, if you take across the religion, what is the total fertility rate? Okay, we are basing this on NFHS 2019 survey. Okay, NFHS 2019 survey. So if we take Muslims, Hindus, Christians, okay, then you have Sikhs, then you have Jains, and the last is Buddhists. Okay, the 2019 NFHS survey says the TFR is standing at 2.4 for Muslims, 1.9 for Hindus, 1.6 for Christians, 1.6 for Sikhs, 1.6 for Jains, and 1.4 for Buddhists. Okay, now you might feel that the TFR is very high for Muslims. However, when you look at it over a period of time from 1992, okay, when you see from 1992, the TFR in 1992 for Muslims was 4.4 and the TFR for Hindus was 3.3. Okay, now if you observe, the overall TFR for both Hindus and Muslims have been declining. Okay, it has now reached 2.4 and 1.9. So overall, if you observe all the religions across religion, we are seeing downward trend. Okay, downward trend is good, and as you know, our main aim is to achieve a TFR of 2.1. Okay, and we are seeing the downward trend across all religion. But what is next important is we have to also make sure that the downward trend is seen across regions. Okay, that is what is important. As you know, the Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, okay, these four states have a very high TFR. Okay, whereas if you take the South Indian states, the TFR is near 2.1, which is the target. However, another worry is if you look at the Northeast India. If you look at Northeast India, again this Northeast India has a very low TFR. Okay, so here the TFR has to be increased. Alright, so the entire article talks about the importance of TFR and how TFR has to be used to assess, analyze and to stabilize population and population control in India. Okay, so I hope you got enough amount of data on TFR that you can use in your answers. Please make a note of this table and you can use this table very nicely, and you can also spatially, I have also given you the spatial angle of TFR. Okay, so you can talk from North India, from South India and Northeast angle. Okay, so across religions, what is the conclusion? Across religions, the TFR is declining and it is stabilizing, but across regions, this is where we have to work on, and this is where the TFR has to be stabilized. Okay, so this is what the entire article is talking about. Now in this article, the author also talks about a French philosopher. The author talks about a French philosopher called Augustin Comte. The author talks about a French philosopher called Augustin Comte, who says that demography is destiny, which is actually true. Correct? The demography decides our destiny, and how are we going to take steps to control our population will decide what is going to be our destiny. Whether will we have a high quality of life, a high standard of living, very accessible to goods and services of highest quality. All this is dependent upon our demography. Hence, demography is destiny. Okay, this is one quote that the author has told in this article that you can use in your answers. And the next is Ram Manohar Lohiya's statements on population and women. Okay, again you can use this in your essay, in your ethics as well as in your GS paper. Now let me read it out. In an article, Women and Sexual Purity, Mr. Ram Manohar Lohia castigates the patriarchal obsession of man with women's body. Okay, especially a tiny part of her body, and not about her ability or functionality. Okay, so in this article, in Women and Sexual Purity, the Ram Manohar Lohia actually is angry about men's obsession to women's body. Rather than being obsessed about women's body, we have to be obsessed about women's ability and our functionality. That is the essence of this statement, first statement. The next statement is, in another famous essay, Draupadi or Savitri, Mr. Ram Manohar Lohia categorically states that Draupadi epitomizes Indian women in true sense, being knowledgeable, brave, bold, and a spitfire to boot. I repeat, Ram Manohar Lohia states that Draupadi epitomizes Indian women in true sense, okay, with respect to being knowledgeable, brave, bold, and spitfire of boot. Now, what you should understand here is Ram Manohar Lohia's conception is not in terms of number of husbands, but in terms of her character and personality. So he is equating Indian women to Draupadi with respect to Draupadi's character and personality, which is knowledgeable, brave, bold, as well as a spitfire of boot. So these are two statements given by the socialist Ram Manohar Lohia, which you can also use in your papers. Okay, so this is the overall essence of population. And as and when time goes, more and more articles will come across population, and I will keep giving you different dimensions. But I hope this article has given you a very important perspective regarding one, thinkers, and other is TFR. Okay, how TFR is important to assess, analyze, and stabilize population, especially in India. Okay, so this is about this article. Let us move to the next article of the day. The next article of the day is, from women in the job market, there is a distress call. Okay, this is basically an article that is talking about protests in Lucknow. Okay, they are talking about the protests in Lucknow. As you can see, the protests by UP emergency helpline workers. This can itself be a case study. Okay, it can be a case study. However, let us just look at what this article is talking about. One, the protests by the UP emergency helpline workers underlines a disturbing reality. Women are entering the job market driven by economic woes. This is a very, very important statement that the author has made. Okay, now let us analyze why the author is telling that women are entering the job market, which is driven by economic woes, which is not good. Because when women enter the job market should actually facilitate their entry. But when the women are entering the job market, if the job market already has so much of economic woes or economic worry, then it is not facilitating the women's entry into the labor market. Okay, so let us analyze what this article is talking about. First, before I get into this case study, Ministry of Labor has given 4 trends. You have to understand these 4 trends. Again, these 4 trends can be used in any part of your answer. You don't have to wait to be asked for women in specific. Okay, so if I take a Ministry of Labor, it has given 4 trends. The first trend is improving. Labor force participation rate. The second trend is falling unemployment rate. The third is rising workforce population ratio, and the fourth is most of the changes, these positive changes are happening because women are entering the workforce. Okay, so these are the 4 trends given by the Ministry of Labor. One is, let me now decipher each and every step what it actually means. See, the first is, it says our labor force participation rate is improving. Okay, now as you remember, the labor force participation rate of women is very low. So if labor force participation rate of all the Indian workforce is improving, that means women's participation is obviously increasing. Okay, now improving labor force participation means more people are demanding jobs. I am giving you a layman definition of labor force participation rate. Okay, if labor force participation rate is rising, that means more people are demanding jobs. That is what is the meaning of improving labor force participation rate. Okay, the next is falling unemployment rate. Okay, falling unemployment rate means the ratio of people who looked for job, people who looked for job, to people who got job. I'm sorry, people who failed to get one. Okay, so if I take the numerator as people who are looking for job, and if I keep the denominator as people who fail to get one, and if we say that falling unemployment rate, okay, if there is falling unemployment rate, that is there is reducing number of unemployment rate, obviously that means people are getting more jobs. Okay, so amongst the people looking for job divided by people fail to get one, this people failing to get one is reducing. Okay, so because the people failing to get one is reducing, obviously the unemployment rate is also reducing. Okay, so amongst people looking for jobs, there are high number of people who are getting the job rather than failing to get one. That is what is the meaning of failing unemployment rate. I hope you understood this. Okay, the next is rising workforce population ratio. Okay, so what do you mean by workforce population ratio? Okay, so this is the ratio of employed people, okay, employed people divided by total population. Okay, this is what is the workforce population ratio. Okay, so obviously as I see rising workforce population ratio, that means the amount of employed people, the numerator is going up. Okay, because the numerator is going up, that means that more and more people are working, hence they are becoming part of the workforce, which is always good. You should always have a high workforce population ratio. If this workforce population ratio is very low, that means dependency ratio is very high. What do you mean by dependency ratio? Dependency ratio is that population that is not working. For example, senior citizens, or for example, children below 18 years of age. These are dependents. So more number of these people will create dependency ratio. However, in India we are seeing rising workforce population ratio. And the last is all the three changes that are happening positively is because women are entering into the workforce. Okay, so the labor force participation rate, the falling unemployment rate, as well as the rising workforce population ratio, all is happening because of women coming into the workforce. Okay, so these are the four important trends given by Ministry of Labor. Okay, now along with this trend, the ministry also gives two more trends. Okay, these two more trends are negative, that's why I am giving you now. The first trend that the ministry tells is new jobs that are created are of low quality. New jobs that are created are of low or poor quality. Okay, that is one. The next is all types of incomes. Okay, if I take all types of incomes, that income can be from regular wages, that income can be from casual labor, that income can be from self-employment. Okay, any workforce you take, it can be regular, casual or self-employment. All types of incomes are seeing stagnancy. So they are these incomes are not rising, they are being in the same level for several years. Now this is bad, because if the income remains the same, it will not be accounted for inflation. Okay, so the prices of the goods keeps increasing, the lifestyle as well as the living standard keeps increasing. However, when the lifestyle and prices keeps increasing, our income is still the same. Now this is not good. Alright, so this will compromise on the standard of living of any individual. Okay, however, these are the two important trends that the Ministry of Labor has given. The one is the new jobs that are created are of poor or low quality, and the next is all types of incomes, regular, casual and self-employment, have been stagnant. There has not been a rising trend, which is bad because it will not account for inflation of prices as well as lifestyle. Okay, so these are the two things that are happening. Now if I have to link these two trends to what is happening in the protests are basically emergency helpline workers in Uttar Pradesh. Okay, now the reason why these women are they are protesting is, one, their salary has been around 11,000, which is very less. Okay, and it has not increased for several years. Okay, the second, the reason why they are, they are protesting is job security. Because there is no job security, the employment is being done by a private firm, which is the job is outsourced by the government to the private firm. So the employment is given by the private firm. So there is no job security for this women, helpline workers. So this is one of the important case study what is happening. Okay, so how can you use this case study is women are definitely entering the workforce, which is a good move in India. However, the women who are entering the workforce, one are moving into poor quality jobs that are created. The second is there is no job security, and the third is the incomes are becoming more and more stagnant. Okay, that's why the author says women are entering a job market that is driven by economic woes. Okay, these are the economic woes. Okay, so we have to make sure that we overcome this to make sure we facilitate more women taking part in the labor force participation. Okay, so what you learned in this article is what are the important labor trends that are taking place in Indian economy. So you learned about the positives also, you learned a few negatives also. So you can use this positives and negatives accordingly to the demands of the question. The second is what is the women's role in labor currently. Okay, so I hope you understood this. As you know, women as an issue is important in GS1, GS2 as well as GS3. In GS1 they can ask from social angle, in GS2 they can ask from quality and governance angle, in GS3 they can ask from economic angle. So you should have some amount of facts, data and information ready so that you can fine tune it however the question is asked, in which paper it is asked. I hope this was helpful. Okay, the next the issue is about stubble burning. Okay, the Chief Minister of Punjab is now looking if there is an option to provide cash incentives to farmers. Okay, the reason why this extreme step is being looked after is because, see, if you take the residue burning problem, okay, residue burning problem is what is stubble burning. Okay, if you take this residue burning problem, look at this, 2/3 of the reported cases is coming from Punjab. Okay, hence Punjab Chief Minister is trying to bring this innovation and extreme step of cash incentives to farmers. Okay, however it is still not implemented, it is still discussed. However, this has to be done as soon as possible because this stubble burning is creating a very, very ugly air pollution problem in Delhi. Okay, as we have discussed in previous articles, air pollution in Delhi, the air quality index has gone to greater than 400. This is very, very bad quality of air in Delhi, and according to the Energy Institute of Chicago, it says that if this type of air pollution will reduce the average life expectancy of any Delhiite by 11 years. It will reduce the life expectancy by 11 years. Okay, so this is the air pollution problem in Delhi, which is caused by stubble burning, which shows that we have to take extra steps as fast as possible in order to overcome this problem of stubble burning. Okay, now to just give you a proper background of what is happening, see, you have Kharif crop and then you have Rabi crop. Okay, in Kharif you grow rice and in Rabi you grow wheat. Okay, Rabi is a winter crop. Okay, now once you grow rice and move to the wheat, you have just 10 days time. Okay, you have just 10 days time for you to prepare the field for you to grow the next crop, that is wheat. So because farmers have very less time, they result in burning of the crops residue. Okay, the best way to remove the crop residue is by burning, and this is known as stubble burning. Okay, now look what has happened. Usually in Punjab, or in North India, what they use is they use a variety called PUSA 44. This is a rice variety that is used in Punjab. Okay, and this rice variety, one, it is obviously high yielding, that's why they use it, and the second is it takes around 155 to 160 days. Okay, it takes 155 to 160 days for the harvesting to happen. Once you are sown, harvesting to happen, it takes this many days. So if you sow it in the month of June, you should wait until the end of October to make sure that you harvest it. Okay, so by the end of October, if you have to harvest it, then if November, if you have to start your rabi crop, you have very less time. This is the problem. So what the Indian Agricultural Research Institute, that is IARI, one solution what the IARI has given us is, instead of PUSA 44, it is now brought in something called PUSA 290 to replace PUSA 44. However, compared to this, both will have the same yield. The yield will be the same. The only thing is the maturity. This maturity will be just 120 to 125 days compared to PUSA 144, that is 150 to 160 days. So what happens if this is the case? When the farmer sows the crop in the month of June, they can harvest it by the early October. Okay, and the November, the rabi crop that starts from November, now the farmer has more time. Okay, so when the farmer has more time, the farmer need not opt for stubble burning. So that is what is the idea behind PUSA 2090 compared to PUSA 44. Okay, so this is what this article talks about, which is a good thing. Again, this can be asked from prelims perspective, or it can also be asked from mains perspective. Okay, one more aspect that you should know is Haryana. Haryana has done a very good job in reducing stubble burning. Okay, in reducing stubble burning, Haryana has done a very good job, so that it can act as a case study. Okay, now again, what has it done? One, it has improved. One is ethanol plants. So obviously these ethanol plants need more and more biomass. So basically that means you are creating cash for agri residues. So this is one of the very good measure. The second is, it is also created something called compressed biogas plants. Third is, there are paper mills that have come up, brick kilns that have come up, that is brick making, and also you have steam boiler fuels. See, all this will use agri residue as their input. Okay, so by using agri residue as their input, they are going to work. So this creates this makes agri residue as an asset, because it attracts more and more cash. Okay, so this is a very good case study of Haryana. Again, you need not use it only for stubble burning. You can use it for innovation, you can use it for creativity, you can use it for governance. Okay, you can use it for solution to problem. Okay, or you can say problem solvers. So like that, it need not always be that you have to wait until they ask you for stubble burning for you to use this case study. You can use it anywhere else. Okay, however, this is a very excellent case study that is there. So it kind of now becomes incumbent on Punjab also to follow the same suit. Okay, also one more issue that is happening is, in Supreme Court there is a discussion that is going on how to change the cropping pattern. How to change the cropping pattern in Punjab. Okay, because they say Punjab is not suited to grow rice, because rice is a water intensive crop. Punjab is not suited to grow rice. Okay, and in this there is one more case study. This case study is about Sangrur. Okay, it is about Sangrur in Punjab. It says in Sangrur in Punjab they grow paddy cultivation. Okay, and this paddy cultivation is followed by free power as well as free water. That is, you have power subsidies and water subsidies. Okay, now all this, one is paddy itself is water intensive. On top of that, you are giving free power as well as free water. This has resulted in the water table. The water table has declined. It has declined by 25 meters in the last 20 years. Okay, it has declined by 25 meters in the last 20 years. Again, this becomes a case study. This case study can be used for one, not going by the natural setting. That is, you are going against the nature. Okay, nature does not want you to grow rice and you're still going to grow rice in Punjab or in any region. This is the outcome of that. Okay, so you can use it in different ways in different case studies. However, this is a very good case study about Sangrur. All right, so this is about this issue. The next issue is about the India UK free trade agreement. Okay, India UK free trade agreement basically is a negotiation that is happening. It has been happening for a very long time. However, there are two contentions. Okay, there are two contentions that is creating the problem within this India UK FTA that is taking more and more time. The one is rules of origin. Okay, the reason what is rules of origin is this ensures that products from third countries, this ensures that product from third countries do not receive ETA benefits unless they undergo significant transformation, in the exporting country. Okay, so what does this mean? See, this means very simple. Now you have India, okay, and you have UK. There is a free trade agreement between India and UK. So what France can do is, France can send its wine into UK. Let us say that France has a particular subsidiary in UK. It will send its wine to UK, and from UK it will export to India as if to take the benefits of the free trade agreement. Now this is not fair because India does not have any free trade agreement with France, so the France is getting benefit indirectly of what we have signed with UK. This is what is the rules of origin. So what India tells is, if there is anything that has to come from UK, then that particular entity, let's say X, that is coming from UK, should have significant transformation happening in UK itself. So if there is a wine that is coming from France to UK and from UK to India, then that wine in UK should have undergone significant transformation before it is coming in India. The rules of origin will make sure that other countries will not, under any circumstances, take the benefits that is amongst the two countries that have signed the free trade agreement. This is what is rules of origin. Again, this is very important because in Europe, the movement of goods within Europe is very flexible. So all these European countries can make use of UK as a medium to target all its products to come into India. Okay, so rules of origin is very important from Indian perspective. Again, when it comes to intellectual property rights, India is the world's largest exporter as well as producer of generic medicine. Okay, generic medicine. Okay, so IPR is very important. The next is UK is wanting a strong IPR protection. Okay, so there has to come a point where both these countries will reach a common ground. What UK should not forget is its public health care called National Health Services. This also uses India's generic drug. Okay, it also uses India's generic drugs. So it is also dependent on India's generic drugs. So whatever IPR protection that UK is seeking for, it has to allow within its protection the generic drugs. Okay, so this is again another area of contention that is there between UK and FTA. I mean UK and India regarding the free trade agreement. Why is this free trade agreement very important is UK. Okay, UK after USA. UK after USA is the largest importer of services from India. Okay, it is, UK after USA is the largest importer of services from India. Almost 17% of service exports of India goes to UK. Okay, hence having this particular free trade agreement signed is very important. Okay, India in order to make sure that its services are improving, its services are growing at the same rate, as to make sure that India UK FTA is signed. Okay, so this is the issues of today. I hope you understood the important issues of today, and I hope this initiative is helping you. Again, I am very appreciative of all those students who even today, even if there is a celebration, you're tuning in to make sure that you don't miss out on the current affairs of every day. I like your dedication and diligence. Please give a round of applause to yourselves. I will see you tomorrow, guys. If you have liked this video, please like, share and subscribe, and please do tell your peers to subscribe to this channel so that they can also make use of it. I'll see you tomorrow, guys. Thank you so much. Bye.